As a gamer, you are showered in new titles to play pretty much every single week, and whether that's good or bad is entirely up to you. And then there's people who's been collecting games all throughout their lifetime, and pretty much have a complete library that can last them forever. A lot of the fun of gaming is having options. A lot of options to be exact. Like you have pretty much every genre and entry in a certain franchise covered. You don't need to scour your shelves only to find out,
damn, I don't have a third way to play Wii Sports, to eBay.
what have I done? But what if those options were taken away? What if you were only confined to only a small fraction of what your collection allows for? What if you could only play 5 games forever?
Yeah, so this is a question that gets asked fairly often in the games industry. If you had only 5 games you could play from now until the end of time, what would they be? And just to be clear, these 5 games don't have to be your top-of-the-line masterpiece titles or favorite games of all time or anything like that. They don't need to be something where you spent an afternoon browsing Metacritic to find the highest-rated games of all time or anything like that. But more so games that you could just really see yourself playing for large periods of time, if that makes sense. And everyone is entitled to their personal opinions here. Each list will certainly vary depending on everybody's preferences, and if you have a list of 5 games that you could see yourself playing from now until forever, please consider sharing. But for this list in particular, this is all mine. Which is the hardest part about having opinions.
But before we get into it, let's discuss a few ground rules. Compilations will not be a part of this list. You'd get a crap ton of value out of game compilations with the whole multiple games in one shtick, but in terms of lists like these, it kinda ruins the whole playing 5 games forever thing when each one contains like 10 games. So while you have 5 compilations technically, you'd really have like 40 games or so. So that doesn't count. And we're only going 1 game per franchise here, otherwise this whole list will just be Mario Kart this and Excite Truck that. Like I gotta draw the line somewhere, you know? And one more thing, I will allow multiplayer based games in here, but very sparingly because again, a good chunk of this list is under the expectation of being alone and depressed with only playing 5 games forever, so don't expect too much from this aspect. And same goes for online oriented games too.
But yeah, that's all I got in terms of rules. Let's get into it.
Now for this first one, I think it'd be neat going with a content heavy title that offers a lot of stuff to do and yeah. I know I just said that I will use multiplayer-oriented games very sparsely, so how do you think I'm able to sleep at night knowing I can't even follow my own rules? Damn. Okay, jokes aside, I actually do believe Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a game with a lot to do, both with the single-player stuff and multiplayer. With single-player, you got the World of Light adventure mode that's about 40 or so hours long. I don't know, I never beat it before. It could be 40 and a half. Classic mode with 80 or so characters, stage builder, target test, and home run contest. And on top of that, you got a crap ton of unlockables with the new fighters and spirits, I guess. I think this is something where Brawl kinda outdoes Ultimate with the unlockables, because unlocking flat JPEGs of various gaming characters isn't nearly as cool as unlocking an assortment of 3D models instead with brief descriptions for each. Plus, I kinda like the premise of the platforming stages in the Subspace Emissary more than just random fights in the World of Light. Now that I think about it, I think Brawl kinda is actually the better pick here. Sure, when it comes to actual fighting, yeah, Ultimate has the edge, but single player stuff, yeah, Brawl is better. So I'm gonna change my mind here. Brawl is my personal pick. I still think Ultimate is the better game overall, but like I said, the games I pick out don't have to be the #1 games of all time or anything like that. Well, but that's one down. For the second one, I think another game with a lot of stuff to do might be a worthwhile pick, but in a different way compared to Smash. So let's cut the bullshit and just pick Minecraft already. Man, I'm really selling myself short here, aren't I? I love Minecraft. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and you could pretty much do whatever you want and build whatever you want. It's ridiculously fun and addicting. I've spent hundreds of hours building houses and stuff in the games and just making one of the most hilarious situations you could imagine. But either way, with Minecraft's freedom letting you build and make your own adventure, it's definitely fitting for a 5 games you could only play for forever list. Sure, it might not be something I want to play 24/7, but that's what the 4 other games on this list are there for. But for what it is, I'm still going with Minecraft. Speaking of which. Okay, so that last pick kinda got me in the mood for games that give you an open sense of freedom, so I think for games like that, an open world title will probably fit that bill. So let's open the vault to my vast and varied library of 100-hour open world games that can qualify for this list.
I gotta be missing one.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. 2 of not only some of the best open world games ever made, but also 2 of the only open world games I've ever played. So which one is it? This list isn't big enough for both. Now, I've stated before that Tears of the Kingdom is the better game than Breath of the Wild, but really only because of the extra crap Tears of the Kingdom has on top of Breath of the Wild's vast array of junk. So really, it's not for its quality, but for its quantity. I think the quality of how Breath of the Wild handled things like its progression, story, and objectives were done better than in Tears of the Kingdom. Really, I think the quality of Breath of the Wild is just straight up better than Tears of the Kingdom in general, but Tears of the Kingdom pretty much has everything Breath of the Wild has, but more. You can explore the sky and underground on top of the already vast world of Hyrule. You can build stuff, you can gather materials to build stuff, and is it always the most fun thing to do?
No.
But it is more, and going with the whole 5 games that I could only play for forever thing, I think Tears of the Kingdom has the edge in that aspect. Now this 4th one is a bit tricky to consider, but really when I think about it, I almost feel like a minigame collection should fit the bill for what I want. Which means yes, I have another excuse to bring up the Wii series of games again. This channel's still not going to be doing well, is it? But if you want small, high-score based minigames, these titles will absolutely do what you want it to, so long as you enjoy motion controls, that is. So yes, I'm going with the game from the Wii series, but because there's so many entries that all serve their purpose decently well, I think this is going to be from personal preference. I could go with Wii Play. Sure, it's not amazing or even great for that matter, but the small-oriented minigames utilizing the Wii Remote's pointer is alright, and games like Shooting Range, Fishing, Table Tennis, and Tanks are all quite fun in their own right. The rest, not so much. Wii Music is kinda rough, but there's still a little fun to be had here. Nintendo Switch Sports exists, and is a decent enough time, but lacks content substantial enough to warrant being here. But let's just get this out of the way, boom. Yes, so to the surprise of no one, and also because I still never played any of the other Wii series games, damn it, Wii Sports is my pick, and I will defend this game till the cows come home. It is not only replayable, but it's also incredibly fun. Is it tech demo-y? Yes. Is it deep and encourages exploration the same way any of the Zelda titles would? No, but that's what makes Wii Sports special. In 2006, Nintendo showed you didn't need big multi-hour long journeys or gameplay or level design that changes the standards for how games should be. Wii Sports was designed to be easy to understand and fun to play, and 20 years later, it still delivers on that. And with the extra side modes that there are and the replayability of all the sports, Wii Sports is definitely a game that I could play for forever without a doubt. Okay, 4 games in and 1 more left, so let's see what we got. I got my multiplayer title that offers a good deal of single-player shenanigans. I got my creative game that I can use as a way to just do whatever I want. I got my open-world adventure game if I'm feeling like I want to explore a giant world. I got my relaxing minigame collection that I could play to waste some time. Now let's go over a game that can just be plain fun. And before you ask, yes, it will be from the Mario series. You didn't think I'd forget about this, did you?
Please don't answer that.
In all seriousness, though, it's actually hard to think about which entry I could play forever. Like, Super Mario World is my favorite game of all time. That's something everyone who was born 13 years after the game's release will say. But something I could play forever? I can certainly imagine more of the 3D stuff being more replayable than the 2D ones, so I'd have to go with the 3D game if anything. Which, hey, if you know the Mario series, you know how good the 3D games are. Galaxy 1 and 2 are phenomenal games, but games that I could play forever, I don't think so. These are both meaty games that when you complete them, it does feel rewarding, yes, but probably not on an eternal level. Maybe in like a year or so, sure, but right away, probably not. Same goes for Sunshine, Odyssey, 3D Land, and 3D World. Odyssey is kinda like the Galaxy games, and even offers a lot to do with all the moons that there are to collect, but I found a lot of those extra moons being kinda unnecessary and more filler-like than anything else to pad out 100% completion. Still incredibly fun to play, but probably not on an eternal level. The 2.5D games, 3D Land and World, despite being phenomenal as well, are basically how I describe the 2D games, so that's kinda whatever. So strangely enough though, I might have to go with Super Mario 64, the first of the 3D games. Why? Because even though Mario 64 isn't the big cinematic adventure that Galaxy is, and more so is on the when you finish it you're done scale, you're not actually done. I found most of the 120 Power Stars offered in Mario 64 to be fun to collect in some form, and 100% completion runs not only feels rewarding, but also something where you can go back and do it again and it'll still feel just as fun as the first. Not only that, the game was designed in a way where you can have fun without even doing any of the actual star missions there are. Running around the different worlds, trying speedrun challenges with moves like the backwards long jump, and even stuff like the Green Demon challenge where you have to try to run away from a 1-up that's chasing you. So as fun as it is to just do a normal playthrough of Mario 64 with getting all the stars, you can also have fun doing challenges the developers never intended upon, which makes 64 one of the most replayable, honestly. So while it's not my favorite entry, I still think 64 is the best for this list.
And with that, I summed up my list of 5 games that I could play from now until forever. And overall, this is really fun to do. I think what makes topics like these so interesting is hearing what other people say for their list, because they're always going to differ depending on the person. And again, if you have any favorites worth sharing, please consider doing so. And again, these lists don't have to be filled with games that are your number one favorite games of all time or have to be 100 hours long or anything like that. But if these are games you could play forever and enjoy doing so, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day. With that being said, I'm going to dedicate my life to playing this challenge where I play only the 5 games I chose for my list and only do that and nothing else from now until the end of time, which could be a while. But like I said, as long as I enjoy doing it, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So goodbye everybody, and wish me luck on this endless journey. Okay, I'm done with this challenge now.
And that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos on the channel where you'll find more videos like this one. And again, thank you all so much for watching and see you next time.